Someone asked him about the ICJ. Trump clearly had no clue. It doesn't matter. It's not Trump that's setting this stuff up. It's Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is the one who's setting this stuff up. Trump doesn't know his ass from his elbow. He is rapidly Brandonizing, okay? He is rapidly and alarmingly Brandonian day after day. So let's start with the South African president coming to the White House. And it's like, it's one of those situations where you can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? What are you supposed to do? You have to go there. You have to talk to the guy, right? And you know he's going to be in the process.
Turn the lights down and just put this on. It's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not?
So in the midst of this normal conversation, friend, Donald Trump just comes in hot. Okay? Don't want to be that chatter, but are you coming to Israel-Iran situation? What do you think? I covered it yesterday. Of course, I'm going to cover it today as well. Just calm down, okay? We'll get to all of it.
Occupy land, occupy land. That's who we are. Must never be scared. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Shoot to kill, Gaza, kill the poor, the farmer,
Bro, okay, this is a real serious question that I have to ask right now. Do we think that Donald Trump has the capacity to tell people apart? Do we think that Donald Trump thinks Julius Malema is the president? Do you think Donald Trump unironically looked at this clip compilation and thought, "Oh, that's you"? I don't know. It's a possibility, because the guy that he's talking to is Ramaphosa, a totally separate guy. But I think Donald Trump might legitimately think that this person on the screen, a whole separate person, is actually the same guy that he's talking to right now. Ramaphosa, sorry, not Fosa.
The man of D-Day in PE is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Suri will not be touched.
Why is he showing these videos? Because he's a embarrassing little gremlin, dude. That's why. Because he's basically Ethan Klein. Like, he's literally doing an Ethan Klein move here on the global stage as the leader of the most powerful nation on the planet. This is where we're at. Our president is a Facebook grandpa. Our president will look at memes and go, well, what do you have to say about this? This is what he's showing the South African president, okay, who is from a totally separate party, for the record, a clip compilation of Malema. Malema is the leader of the EFF, a separate party in South Africa. Okay, a clip compilation of a person that Trump has identified as like doing white genocide. But the real reasons as to why they're claiming that there is a white genocide happening when there is no white genocide happening is because of the slow legal process that the ANC is pushing for at this point, for at least like the lightest of land expropriation that was, again, a constitutionally protected right for the black South African citizens. That's it. And the ANC, especially at this stage, is like is not even a competent a competent display of leadership that they're engaging in. One might even say, even after the apartheid's dissolution, there was still, you know, there was still a lot of problems with their lack of interest in land expropriation. So they're in this unique predicament where they're trying to they're just trying to manage the anger that people understandably have due to the horrible economic standards for black South Africans that has not changed all too significantly, in spite of having more civil liberties as opposed to in the apartheid structure where they had no civil liberties. Their economic circumstances have not actually changed at all. South Africa is an incredibly poor country, an incredibly a country where there's a tremendous amount of inequality still for black people. So that's the situation ahead of us. That's the situation in front of us. This is precisely the reason why, you know, people are feeling some type of way about it. The other reason why they're claiming white, there's a couple different reasons why they're claiming white genocide. Number one, obviously this is a major point for white nationalists. So Donald Trump is trying to offer them a little bone here to say like, no, I'm with you. Okay, give them a nod. Give them a nod that he is still with the white nationalists, that they're like pet issues or something that matters to him. The other reason why he's doing this is because it is a political weapon he can wield against South Africa, which, of course, set up a court case in the International Criminal Justice Court against Israel doing it. The ICJ has a court case in front of them. ICJ is state versus state, okay? And the state that brought up the charge against the state of Israel is South Africa. So, of course, this is a little bit of a know you situation from Donald Trump to be like, oh, good on you. Oh, look at you claiming that there is a going on in Israel, which is the most moral nation on the planet, the best nation on the planet. How dare you do a case against Israel while they're doing it? That's not very cash money of you, my guy. You're doing it, actually. Guess what? You're doing a white... Someone asked him about the ICJ. Trump clearly had no clue. It doesn't matter. It's not Trump that's setting this stuff up. It's Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is the one who's setting this stuff up. Trump doesn't know his ass from his elbow. He is rapidly Brandonizing, okay? He is rapidly and alarmingly Brandonian day after day. It's the bald Himmler on his ass cheeks that's basically designing all of this shit.
What are you expecting on the ICJ case? Are you expecting South Africa to drop that? Is that what you're trying to...
On which case?
The ICJ, the
International Criminal Justice.
I don't expect anything, to be honest. I really don't. I don't know. It's they've got a case. There's a lot of anger there, tremendous anger. I don't expect anything. We'll see what happens. We'll have a ruling, and who knows what the ruling is going to mean.
One good thing from this meeting is that the ICJ case seems to be off the table for negotiations, at least I hope. Regardless if Ramaphosa withdrew from the ICJ, it would be political suicide in South Africa. People here are overwhelmingly pro-Palestine. Yeah, of course. They have like pro-Hamas and pro-Hezbollah banners in South Africa. Like, at least what I've seen. I don't know. I don't know. What is the ICJ? I don't know. Who cares? Oh, yeah. You're not showing up automatically on the Twitch app. I had to search to find you. I don't care, dude. Who cares? Who gives a shit? All right, I'm being blacklisted again, probably. It's probably not the case. There's probably something wrong with your algorithm. No, the ICC case is a separate case. The International Criminal Court is a separate court than the International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice is state versus state. The International Criminal Court is a body that has prosecutors that can prosecute individuals for... The ICJ prosecutes states for the crime of... The International Criminal Court, on the other hand, prosecutes individuals for...
Yeah.
On that subject, what are you expecting?
There will be times, come on. But we're starting with this whiteness. We're cutting the throat of whiteness. Shoot, Yamasa. Kill the blue one. The farmer. The blue one. The farmer. Pa. Pa. Shoot. Come on.
you'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter. They freak out. It sounds like a
who will expropriate land without compensation, whether they like it or not. If they object, they can seek refugee in America.
Now, this is very bad. These are the...
Being a guest in the Oval Office has become a chance for Trump to try to humiliate you in front of the world. I know. The problem is it's humiliating for Donald Trump. Of course, this is not something that, it's just like the Zelensky shit, right? Like what Donald Trump did to Zelensky was supposed to be humiliating for Zelensky, but it actually was humiliating for America because every other country and its citizens that look at that back and forth, that look at that conversation, they go, this is the most insane thing I've ever watched. What the f is going on? The problem, on the other hand, is that for average Americans, they actually do think that this is a display of strength and dominance because they're stupid. We are a nation of stupids, getting increasingly dumber by the day, increasingly more racist by the day. So if everyone is stupid, you might as well be stupid too. It doesn't matter. And that's where we're at. Every homeschooled nation, law 6%, 76% literacy rate in this goddamn country. Richest person on the planet, 76% literacy rate. Of course, this is the type of shit that Donald Trump is doing. And it's actually making waves amongst the dumbest Americans. Every American has the brain capacity of an iPad kid. It's so crazy. 54% of adult Americans can't read above a 6th grade level. You don't need to be mean. What are you saying? I don't need to be mean. What am I supposed to do? Say that it's like perfectly normal for the goddamn president of the wealthiest nation on the planet to run a clip compy? Like he's a slop tuber? What are you, Ethan Klein? What is this? He did the exact same shit that Ethan Klein tried to pull on me, where he's like, oh, what do you think about this other guy? This other guy said a lot of mean things. Nasty things. What do you have to say? He's like, well, he's not a part of my party. What do you want? This is no different than being like, defend the Sabra hummus tier list. Like, what the? This is two leaders of two separate states sitting side by side in the White House. This is a moment of national shame, okay? A moment, if we were at least a little bit more intelligent, we would look to this collectively and go, this is perhaps the most insane thing that has happened so far, only we will most likely experience an even more insane thing tomorrow, given how things have happened so far. No shame. No shame for Americans whatsoever. We revel in our stupidity. We revel in our stupidity. We think it's a badge of honor. Nowadays, like the last generation of Republicans used vice signaling. They substituted vice as a virtue. They would be like, the meaner I get, the worse I get, the more I dunk on marginalized populations, the cooler it is. I'm going to be an asshole for the sake of being an asshole because people are going to read that as a positive. Was the last generation's conservative movement. Now it's also a badge of honor to be dumb. And okay, not only am I signaling vices, I'm also dumb. I'm signaling how stupid I am. And yeah, if people are just as stupid as the president is, or even stupider than the president is, they respond positively to this. They go, yeah, that's my president. He owned this guy. It's fantastic.
These are burial sites right here. Burial sites, over 1,000 of white farmers, and those cars are lined up to...
You don't know why you're talking? Have some respect. The president of South Africa is actively committing it. Why don't you stand up like that, what you did with Israel? Oh, wow. What an incredible it's been for the white South Africans that every white South African, Afrikaners, and everyone else basically laughs at these dumb fat piggies that we actually ship to the United States of America where they're like, everyone in South Africa, white people, black people are like, what the f do you mean? Oh, I got a boo-boo in my finger. There's a happening. You did my finger. What a spectacular display of that's taking place, where the overwhelming majority of all victims of even the farm murders are still the black workers at the farms, the farmhands. It's a white, when black people are dying at alarmingly high rates. Incredible white taking place here. Later on in the conference, they asked their white agricultural minister to speak, and he calls the allegations completely insane. Yeah, it's so utterly ridiculous, dude. It is so ridiculous. It's so funny. You sound like an Israeli now. Wow, it's interesting how from the perspective of that chatter, he's listening to you now as we listen to the Israelis yap on TV. Yeah, except the difference is it's not real. The Israeli, the Palestinians is real. The white of Afrikaners is not real. So what do you want me to do? Lie? Not a single human rights organization recognizes even a fraction. There is a lot of violence in South Africa. That is certainly true. The overwhelming majority of the victims of said violence at even disproportionate rates, regardless of the fact that only 7% of the South African population is white, is still black people, of course. This is like when you ask white people what white looks like, they literally say, oh, we own 90% of the agricultural output in South Africa, despite making up 7% of the population. Wow, dude. Incredible. Wow. If only one day I could get it like that. You know what I mean? Or if you ask dumb in like the UK or in America, white is when white people voluntarily have sex with non-white people. That's what white is. The great replacement is literally white people getting out-meated and out-competed in the marketplace of dating by dudes with salsa hips, okay? That's what white is for the average American white person, the white nationalist who's like, yeah, I can't compete with a Mexican dude who's way cooler than me. This must mean it's taking place. Because that's what it is. They want to make miscegenation illegal, okay? They want to make race mixing illegal. This is the only way you can, ensure the purity of the white race. Nobody even asked the question, like, why the should there be a pure white race? Like, what are you talking about? This is why I joke about this all the time. I used to all the time. I was like, yeah, I'm doing a white bitch. What's up? I'm out here. I'm out here with your moms. That's white. You know what I mean? The number of people that say that there is an actual white happening in South Africa is so tiny. That's why it's extra ridiculous. That's why it's extra ridiculous that, like, it's like you got maximum 1,000 people together and they were like, we're being, and then now the leader of the most powerful nation on the planet is elevating this to a status, offering it dignity. It's insane. Like, only 58 people came, dude, and every single one of those ones are like, they own mines, they own massive amounts of farmland, and I suspect they will still turn around and go back to South Africa eventually too. Yes, I know. Kneecap O'Hara has been charged with a terror offense. I know that. I know. Hold on. Yes, I know. I'm gonna talk about it. Hold on. Typical Hasan shit, downplaying white. Shut the up. Shut up. Don't even joke about this. There's like unironically people that think this is it. When the president says something, it holds a lot of value, unfortunately. Okay, the bully pulpit is powerful. I know you're joking. I know you're joking right now. But it doesn't matter. There are literally people who believe this now. That's why the dumb juicer in the chat was like, oh, why don't you stand with the white South Africans that are being like you do with the Palestinians? Like, it's over. It's like officially now you have the dumbest people. You have the dumbest people in the United States of America championing this cause that is not real.
Love on a Sunday morning. Each one of those white things you see is a cross, and there's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers, the family of white farmers, and those cars aren't driving. They're stopped there to pay respects to their family member who's and it's a terrible sight. I've never seen anything like it. Both sides of the road you have crosses. Those people are all.
Have they told you where that is, Mr. President? No, I'd like to know where that is, because this I've never seen. But okay.
I mean, it's in South Africa. That's where.
We need to find out.
Those people.
Okay.
Mr. President, the Pentagon announced that it would be accepting a Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
You know.
To instantly change what they were doing and offer citizenship and liberty to the Palestinians that they were oppressing. Instead, they went in the opposite direction. This is why I use the South African apartheid as an analog when describing the conditions in Israel, because it's one that, like, albeit did not actually offer the proper economic restoration that was necessary in the aftermath of the dissolution. But it's important to recognize that, like, at least the legal structure was eradicated. And you are watching dumb Americans who are terrified of reparations point to South Africa as a country where they are doing what they fantasized newly freed black people would do in the aftermath of the abolition of slavery. And on numerous other instances throughout American history where there have been civil rights struggles, like, this is precisely what the Americans think. They think, like, affirmative action is basically why the most Americans. So it's perhaps one of the most dangerous idiotic conspiracies to entertain. And Donald Trump, of course, is entertaining it.
You to get out of here. What does this have to do with the Qatari jet? They're giving the United States Air Force a jet, okay? And it's a great thing. We're talking about a lot of other things. It's NBC trying to get off the subject of what you just saw. You are a real, you're a terrible reporter. Number one, you don't have what it takes to be a reporter. You're not smart enough. But for you to go into a subject about a jet that was given to the United States Air Force, which is a very nice thing. They also gave $5.1 trillion worth of investment in addition to the jet. Go back, you ought to go back to your studio at NBC, because Brian Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions from you. Go ahead. Go ahead, talk about that. His name is Peter something. He's a terrible... Quiet.
That's my question now.
Let's go.
Thank you so much. President Trump and a disaster from ENCA in South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve.
What would you like President Ramaphosa to do about the situation that we've just seen on the screen?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Look,
it doesn't seem real because it's not real. I don't know what he should do.
these are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death.
This was in his notes. Like, I saw a report coming out of the office that it was like he literally had a note sheet that just said death.
Horrible death. Death. I don't know. To pick anyone, white South Africans are fleeing because of the violence and laws. And this is all... I mean, I'll give these to you. So when you say, what would I like to do? I don't know what to do. Look at this. White South African couples say that they were attacked violently. And,
President Trump, when will you go and see for yourself if it is indeed true?
well, I could do that. Look, here's burial sites all over the place. These are all white farmers that are being buried. And he asks about a jet that was given. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You know, you are so bad. You're such a bad reporter. This is one after another. This family was wiped out. I'm just looking.
Can we get a response?
Reaction to those videos, Mr.
President Trump,
Well, I think the videos are so... No, when you look at the videos, I mean, how does it get worse? And these are people that are officials, and they're saying that the white farmer and take their land. That's what. And I have other friends in South Africa. I have people that left. One in particular that says you can't go there. He said they want to take your land. They take your land and take you. It's okay, and they say it's okay to do. Now we're going to talk about it. But this is a tremendous look. This is a story recent. These are all people that recently got. And I don't know how it can get any worse. These are, and you know, the man that...
Yeah, we got the new 40 beheaded babies. This time, the Afrikaner edition.
You saw the men that you saw, the people that you saw on that...
Yes, I think it's also a way to undermine and soften the term of the media zeitgeist, taking its power away when used for Gaza, as people see it used for this shit show, while also being like, hey, don't get any ideas, African Americans. That certainly is a part of this as well. You're not wrong.
Well, those are officials. Those are people that were in office. They had one march. They had a dance.
I hate this so much. I hate it so much. It's like it's stupidity. It's dangerous levels of stupidity paired up with dangerous levels of racism, and it's getting elevated to a position of prominence by the president. It's the worst. It's so bad. We are so goddamn cooked, dude. This is what happens when you got a groiper president. It's so frustrating.
In your parliament, whatever you may call it, legislature.
But let me clarify that.
Yeah,
let me clarify that, because what you saw, the speeches that were being made, one, that is not government policy. We have a multi-party democracy in South Africa that allows people to express themselves, political parties to adhere to various policies, and in many cases, or in some cases, those policies do not go along with government policy. Our government policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can take land.
And then when they take the land, they the white farmer. And when they the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No.
Oh, just a maddening situation. Because, like, he's so cucked, he has to play nice. He has to play nice. Yeah, luckily, Trump didn't make a bigger deal about the ICJ situation. Yeah, thank God he's so stupid. He doesn't know what's going on there, that he's not bringing that up to be like, well, you know, you say that Israel's doing it when it's not. It's just defending itself, but you're doing it to the white farmers. Why? Why doesn't he just rip him a new one in front of the cameras? I don't know, because it's the United States of America we're talking about. Think about the unprecedented amount of power that they have on the global stage. If he wanted to, he could literally arrest this person and claim that he was arresting this person for the crime of, okay? Do you understand the amount of power that the American president has? They could literally arrest him on the spot and say, you're doing it, I'm arresting you. What are you going to do about it? Once it was made clear that black people were possibly going to run South Africa, they had to dissolve their nuclear program, so they don't even have nukes to retaliate, so they have no power. So what are they supposed to do? Who's going to go back and say, hey, what are you doing? Think about what Israel has done so far. The only reason why they're able to do this is because they are backed by the United States of America. So if, like, there is nothing that the United States of America could do that any other country is going to turn around and complain about. The only thing that people could do is just like try to play ball to the best of their ability and hope that like this insanity passes by. That's it. BRICS? Yeah, BRICS. Totally, dude. You're right. South Africa India is going to tell America, hey, you can't arrest the South African leader. What are you talking about? The only thing that I hope people can draw out of this is that this is in some ways not different than the way he treated Zelensky. Okay, this is yet another obvious showcase that like there is no real democratic process. What America says goes, and when this guy is holding on to the reins, he's already dropping the pretext of democracy or the democratic process or diplomacy, and he's just showing you exactly how this power dynamic works. That's what's so frustrating about this, is that all of those people that turn around and say, well, Hasan, you say America bad, but like, look at all the beautiful liberalism that America is engaged in. This is it. This is what was going on behind closed doors anyway. And now Donald Trump has made it so that everyone can recognize exactly what this power dynamic looks like.
There is
nothing happens.
There is criminality in our country. People who do get, unfortunately, through criminal activity are not only white people. Majority of them are black people. And we have now been utilizing.
The farmers are not black.
That's not true. It's actually the farmhands that are getting. He's also wrong about that too. When he says like the farmers are white, the farmers are white. No, the farm owners are white, and you're still wrong anyway. The farm workers are black. I wonder how that works. I wonder why it works that way. The farm owners are white. The farm workers are black. When farm murders are taking place, they're talking about the black people that are being in the farms. It's still overwhelmingly black people that are victims of all forms of economic violence, of all forms of structural violence and direct violence in South Africa. South Africa is a very imbalanced country, okay? There is a shit ton of wealth disparity in the country. It is still very much a de facto, even though it's not a legal structure of apartheid, there's still a not so legal de facto structure of apartheid when it comes to the economics of everyday black existence in South Africa, as opposed to the Afrikaners and white South Africans that live in Johannesburg.
I don't say that's good or bad, but the farmers are not black. And the people that are being in large numbers, and you saw all those grave sites, and those are people that loved ones going, I guess on a Sunday morning, they told me, to pay respect to their loved ones that were their heads chopped off. They died violently. And, you know, I mean, we're here to talk about it, and I didn't know we'd get involved here. But I will say this, that if the news wasn't fake, like NBC, which is fake news, totally, one of the worst, ABC, NBC, CBS, horrible. But if they weren't fake news like this jerk that we have here, if we had real reporters, they'd be covering it. But the fake news in this country doesn't talk about that. They don't want to talk about it, but now they have to talk about it. But they won't. This won't even be a subject. They'll have him talking about why did a country give a free, think of this, why did a country give an airplane to the United States Air Force? Okay, the United States, not to me, to the United
He's still talking about the
United States Air Force, so they could help us out, because we need an Air Force.
Oh, it's dumbass, still talking about it.
One should, what we would also take.
I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
Okay. But coming back to this issue, which I really would like us to talk about, and talk about it very calmly. We were taught by Nelson Mandela that whenever there are problems, people need to sit down around a table and talk about them.
Well, there are problems.
And this is precisely what we would also like to talk about, including, of course, trade matters, investment matters. So the issues that concern you as the United States.
Those are all recent. Those are all deaths.
Yeah, in many ways, I mean, one should say you are a partner of South Africa, and you are raising concerns, and these are concerns that we are willing to talk to you about. Let me just add quickly, you know, the criminality that we are experiencing in our country needs quite a lot of technological capability. And in one of our areas in South Africa, we're using US technology, which is able to, in many ways...
I did not skip over the South African president wishing he could offer a plane. I heard him. And Trump said, I would gladly take your plane. I know. This is how we do business now, okay? It's literally paying the king for fealty, okay? That is how this works. Trump is the God King. He's got the heavens mandate, and every other nation leader has to pay the piper. They have to go up to the king. They have to go up to the king and say, please, sir, we have gifts for you.
Identify where shootings are happening and all that. And I'd like to talk about that, because there is support that we can get from you and the United States to help us deal with all these acts of criminality. And that is what I believe partnership is all about. And we are here as a partner so that we can help each other whenever there are challenges. So I'd like us to discuss it, and of course outside of the media, so that we sit down and have a really good discussion that will lead to good outcomes.
Are there any other further punitive measures that could be in place should you not be satisfied that South Africa is fixing some of the very bad things, in inverted commas, that you tweeted are happening?
Well, there are a lot of bad things happening in many countries, but this in particular has been very, very bad, very bad. And because of we're going to have the whole world watching in another short period of time, because you have the G20, and that's a big deal. And it seems like, I mean, I want you to look good. I don't want you to look bad.
Very good.
But we have hundreds of people, thousands of people trying to come into our country because they feel they're going to be, and their land is going to be confiscated. And
that's not even true. You brought in 58 of the most heart-diseased Nazis you could find. That's it. There aren't thousands of people. I don't even think there are thousands of Afrikaners that would come to the United States of America. Why the f would they? Half of them that are still LARPing as though they are engaging in the act of settler colonialism in like the 18th century, and the other half are obviously cognizant that there is no white.
And you do have laws that were passed that gives you the right to confiscate land for no payment. You can take away land for no payment.
I want to clarify that, because we have a constitution. Our constitution guarantees and protects the sanctity of tenure of land ownership. And that constitution protects all South Africans with regard to land ownership. However, we do say, because we've got to deal with the past, the government, and as your government also has the right to expropriate land.
Dude, can you imagine? I mean, it's just like trying to describe to Donald Trump of all people the concept of reparations is crazy. Like perhaps one of the worst people to explain this to. In his mind, when he hears this, he's like, oh, so you're admitting that there is a going on. White Americans think there's a white going on when you talk about like affirmative action, dude. Deeply selfish, deeply stupid, deeply people.
For public use.
And you're doing that.
And we've never really gotten underway with that. And we are going to be doing so.
You're taking people's land away
we have not.
From them. And those people in many cases are being, and they happen to be white, and most of them happen to be farmers. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough situation. I don't know how you explain that. How do you explain that? They're taking people's land away, and in many cases those people are being, and in many cases it's not the government that's doing it, it's people that them, and then take their land, and nothing happens to them. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country. They're also going to Australia in a smaller number. Mm-hmm. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country, and they're white farmers, and they feel that they're going to die in South Africa, and it's a bad thing. Yeah.
Going to G20 in November.
What can South Africa do? What concessions would you like to see them make to improve relations with the United States? Then I have one more for President Ramaphosa afterwards.
Well, we just spoke about, I got them a very, very complex machine, 150 of them. I was asked by the president if it could help, and I did that. And, I have great feeling for all countries. I deal with all countries, but I have a great feeling for South Africa because I have friends. I have a couple of friends, a few friends here today. I have many friends from South Africa, but many of those friends are not, they can't go back. I have Elon is from South Africa. I don't want to get Elon involved. That's all I have to do, get him into another thing. But
bro, he's literally like, I'll send him back. I'll send him back and you're cooked. That's a threat, dude. That is the biggest threat possible. I'll send Elon Musk's annoying ass back to South Africa is probably the worst thing you can say. Ay, ay, ay.
Elon happens to be from South Africa. This is what Elon wanted. He actually came here on a different subject, sending rockets to Mars, okay?
Yes.
He likes that better. He likes that subject better.
That's right.
But Elon is from South Africa, and I don't
Yeah,
want
he
to talk
admits
to him
he
about
admits that
I
he's
don't want-
entertaining the stupid thing, partially because he wants to give catnip to the white nationalists and white supremacists, who he's kind of fallen out of favor with because, like of his unconditional loyalty to Israel. So he has to like recover. He has to recover that. It's a perfect way to do it, by the way, because this way you can also attack. You do this while you're simultaneously attacking South Africa for its court case against Israel's ICJ. Fantastic.
I don't think it's fair to him.
That's right.
But I will say that people are fleeing South Africa for their own safety. Their land is being confiscated.
Why is the entire world pandering to the U.S. and Trump like this? Why isn't there some kind of inside coup? Why is USA as the world superpower always as the status quo? Why not try to change it, challenge it at the very least? I think a lot of people that ask questions like this are asking very good questions. And I think those people are basically understanding the position that I have been at for the past 12 years of my professional media career, where I kept describing to people that like when events are unfolding around the world, America always has a hand in said events. When I say like, oh, America bad, or whenever my naysayers constantly say, Hasan says America bad, why do you always blame America for this? Why do you always blame America for that? You're beginning to recognize how much power the United States of America has. That's it. The only difference is Donald Trump has done away with the fake diplomacy. Donald Trump does not play the role of diplomat as previous leadership did in an effort to maintain some semblance of soft power capabilities. America's not playing that game anymore. It's saying we are the global hegemon. You do what we say. We say jump, you say how high. The reality is that countries are self-interested and are desperate. South Africa cannot afford to shut off American investment. They just can't. You can't blame impoverished countries for doing what they need to do to survive. But every other country is in the same status. That's the whole point. When compared to the United States of America, there is a reason why the entirety of the European Union will place themselves in a servile status to American interest. That's because America runs the world. Like, I think a lot of people just refuse to recognize this. And I guess like the silver lining here with Trump's indecent nature is that it's making it impossible to deny. This is the real global order. Trump is basically piercing through that veil. Trump is basically unsheathing America's global dominance for all to see. He's saying it like it is. Turns out all it took for many people was the semblance of diplomacy from leaders in the past to make it seem as though other countries have a say. Other countries have some semblance of sovereignty in this process. They don't. And this is how it's been since the Cold War ended. The most countries can do is basically try to leverage the United States of America for better deals by cozying up to China. That's what the BRICS is.
And in many cases, they're being... And that scene of... You see how many crosses they have. Those crosses, that's a dead person in every one of them. And those trucks or cars are paying their respects to all of those dead people on a Sunday morning. That's a rough thing to explain away. And the problem we have, and the way, you know, a correct and a fair media exposes things. But
I do think there is an alternative vision here, but that alternative vision requires European countries to actually switch ownership away from the United States of America to behave like the BRICS nations have done so far by cozying up to China. But they too are far too Orientalist in their framework to engage in this. They are, for lack of a better term, too racist for their own good. I'm not saying like, you know, become China's lapdog. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what they could do in order to at least threaten America's hegemonic power status is to basically leverage the build a better relationship with China in an effort to have more leverage against the United States of America, because collectively, the entirety of the world, the entirety of the planet could actually take on American hegemonic power status. Obviously, a major hurdle against that is NATO. But wouldn't America lose their shit over that? Like, wouldn't they try to punish those countries for doing so? I mean, this goes back to the same principle behind what are they going to do? All of us? Like, if there is only so much, there's only so much pressure. There's only so much pressure you can apply. Like, there are competing interests here. No, the answer is not yes. Okay, that's ridiculous. Like, there is another way out of this. Okay, why do you trust China so much? They wouldn't allow our speech. Oh my God, I'm losing my mind. There is real reason not to trust China. Look at the and they are communist. You don't even know how to spell Uyghur. And then you used communist as a pejorative. You think I give a shit that the Communist Party of China is communist? Yeah, no. That's not a pejorative here. That's a benefit, okay? Anyway, I didn't even say offer unconditional fealty to China like you have with the United States of America. Wait, hold on. Wait 1 second. How are you able to cherry pick the dumbest people in the chat? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not saying offer unconditional loyalty to China, become servile to Chinese interests. I'm simply stating that there are a lot of countries that are in the periphery that have cozied up to China in an effort to bargain better with the United States of America, in an effort to get leverage, okay? And this is what European leaders should be doing as well. China hasn't proven itself to be a meaningful alternative to the U.S. in the ways that the USSR did, but it's certainly better than nothing to give countries a second option if they want involvement in the global economy. Exactly.
We have a very corrupt media. They won't even report this. If this were the other way around, it would be the biggest story. Now, I will say apartheid, terrible. That was the biggest story. That was reported all the time. This is sort of the opposite of apartheid. What's happening now is never reported. Nobody knows about it.
So it's good. This is the opposite of apartheid. Okay, so it's a good thing. The opposite of apartheid is what? Economic restitution? Thank you. Exactly. I know he's too stupid to understand what he's saying. He's trying to say this is reverse racism. This is reverse racism.
All we know is we're being inundated with people, with white farmers from South Africa, and it's a big problem. Marco Rubio was telling me he's never seen anything like it. The numbers of people that want to leave South Africa because they feel they're going to be dead very soon.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
I was going to say,
Brian, go.
If I could just ask you a question. 72% of farmers in your country are white. If they flee, do you feel that maybe the economy could collapse?
Dude, yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is the dumbest. This is the dumbest, most argument of all time. The idea that in 2025, a modern nation state that is run by black people is incapable of doing the agricultural output that white people were doing is so stupid. All of the farm workers are black, you dumbass. The idea that like, oh, what will you do? What will South Africa do without the white farm owners is so crazy. Who do you think works the farms? God, this dipshit, dude. The one who was like, oh, why aren't you wearing a suit to Zelensky?
You may not have a gap to fill in those people that need to replace those farmers.
You know, I'd like my Minister of Agriculture, who is white, who comes from an opposition party to mine, who's joined my government at my invitation to address this very issue, including the question that you've just raised. John?
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you for welcoming us to the White House. I would say we have a rural safe problem in South Africa. I don't think anyone wants to candy coat that. And
this is also part of the reason why I said like America actually taking some of the white farmers off the hands of the South African government is not necessarily the worst thing. Partially because they're marginal and inconsequential, but also, yeah, great. This allows the government to actually expropriate some of this land and reallocate those resources to the black farmers. Great. In a weird way, they're so that they're unironically helping the interests of black South Africans. That's why I jokingly said they're decolonizing Africa. I don't have an issue with that. I don't like if these guys want to leave because they feel like they're getting a shitty bargain here and they're worried that the government might take their land or something, then great. Like leaving the land is great. There are so many on Twitter who have been like, you should salt the earth before you leave those guys. And it's like, dude, you are such a piece of shit. Problem is that they still own the land. Nope, not a problem. Not a problem when you can, when you could take the land. You could just take the land. They're no longer there. It's your land. No, it won't happen. Black oligarchs will take it. Please don't make such statements. Of course, it's probably not the farm owners that are leaving, because why would they leave? They own the farms and they know it's not a real problem. Black oligarchs, yes, that is also not fake. That is real, for the record. That is a real thing. All that took place in South Africa in the aftermath of the apartheid was basically a couple black dudes were able to also reach the highest levels of wealth, and then that was it. It's not wrong to suggest that like the ownership changing from white hands to like a singular black one is not going to offer the economic restitution that was promised.
It requires a lot of effort to get on top of it. It's going to require more policing resources. It's going to require a different strategy to be able to deal with it. But certainly the majority of South Africa's commercial and smallholder farmers really do want to stay in South Africa and make it work. And I've just come from the largest agricultural show in the Southern Hemisphere with organized agriculture and farmers, and the majority of them want to stay. But they too there have a memorial to those who've died as a result of farm attacks. And as the Minister of Agriculture, it is something that I'm particularly exercised with my colleagues at police.
There it is. A member of the group that's being did, by the way. This is John Steenhuisen. I hate him so much. He's from the DA party, which is like the Democrat Party in America. Pandaru Raccoon, please stop making the gorilla analogy. That's why you're getting ignored hard today. Okay? That's why you're getting ignored. Where you're making an analogy that uses gorillas when talking about South Africa. Okay? Perhaps that's the reason why I'm not paying attention to your stupid analogy. Please stop. There's also 30,000 other people in here. Obviously, I'm not going to get to every single person and their unique commentary on the situation.
And my colleagues in the justice cluster to start making farm attacks and stock theft a priority crime. And it affects all farmers in South Africa, particularly stock theft. It has a disproportionate effect on smallholder black farmers. I also want to just say this, that the two individuals that are in that video that you've seen are both leaders of opposition minority parties in South Africa. Umkhonto we Sizwe under Mr. Zuma and the economic freedom fighters under Mr. Malema. Now the reason that my party, the Democratic Alliance, which has been an opposition party for over 30 years, chose to join hands with Mr. Ramaphosa's party was precisely to keep those people out of power. We cannot have those people sitting in the union buildings making decisions. And that is why after 30 years of us exchanging barbs across the floor in Parliament and trying to get one over on each other, we've decided to join hands precisely to keep that lot out of government. Because the day they get in to the doors of the union buildings in South Africa or control of our Parliament, that's what you're going to see. And that is why this government...
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Ugh. He's literally there to be like, listen, the real villains here are the people who would do a white, which is EFF. Like, that's why we have this coalition. And they are the right wing. Like, the ANC are already neoliberal. And the DA, the Democrat Alliance, is even more right wing than they are. And this dipshit is sitting there being like, no, what will happen if the EFF gets into power? That's why we have this alliance, this allegiance here, after years and years of being an opposition party.
Working together needs the support of our allies around the world so that we can strengthen our hand, grow our economy, and shut the door forever on that rabble getting through the doors of the union bodies, because then South Africa's future would be...
So you denounced that type of language in the video that you saw?
Oh, yes. We've always done so. As government, as my own party, we are completely opposed to that. We, in 1955, adopted a document which said South Africa belongs to all who live in it.
But why wouldn't you arrest that man? That man said, the white farmers, and then he danced, and he's dancing, and it's the white farmers. I'm not sure, but I think if somebody got up.
I guess the answer to that question would be, if we don't actually do any sort of expropriation of land, they are going to win. Okay? Isn't that the whole point? Like, also, like the Boer shit by the Free Speech Warrior. The Boer is a anti-apartheid song that they're singing, and the entire position of the party, aggressive in its language or not, is that obviously the economic restitution that was promised has not been provided to black South Africans, and they are the ones who are demanding it. The EFF is a CIA asset. It is there to control black frustration because of the neoliberal order, which causes the rampant inequality. The Supreme Court here ruled that it is not hate speech. It's just excusing calls for violence. Oh my God. Oh my Lord. Hold on.
Up in Parliament and started saying a certain group of people, he would be arrested very quickly. That man is going all over South Africa, and that's not a small party. That was a stadium that holds 100,000 people, and I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation. And those crosses, we have dead white people, dead white farmers, mostly. And you take a look at Australia. They're being inundated, and we're being inundated with people that want to get out. And their farm is valueless. It's valueless. And they just want to get out with their life. And this is a very serious situation. And if we had a real news or real press or media, we don't have that because they won't talk about this because they're all guys like that idiot. But if we had a real press, it would be exposed. And you know, the beauty of exposing it is it's like a cleansing action. When it gets exposed, it'll get fixed. That's when it'll get fixed. But people don't talk about it. And I'll tell you who's talking about the thousands of people that are fleeing South Africa right now.
We discussed USAID and the devastating impact the cuts are having across the African continent.
You know, it's devastating, and hopefully a lot of people are going to start spending a lot of money. And I've talked to other nations. We want them to chip in and spend money too. And we've spent a lot, and it's a tremendous problem.
Sorry, that suggestion that you presented is literally the suggestion that the ANC government is starting the process of acting on, and that is what these guys are calling. That's what Trump is calling a white.
Going on in many countries, a lot of problems going on. The United States always gets the request for money. Nobody else helps, as you know. Europe doesn't help. Europe hasn't given anything. All they do is sue our companies. You know, they sue Apple, and they sue all of our companies. Apple had to pay $17 billion on a nonsense lawsuit. Very unfair. But we're going to always be there to help.
Sherman Rice by South African Broadcasting. If this Afrikaner resettlement issue is resolved, we're going to go into a room after this. You guys are going to talk. If it is resolved, what is the potential for the future-looking relationships between the United States?
It's got to be resolved. It should be resolved. It's a little bit bad when you see a stadium with 100,000 people in it, because that means it's more than just a little movement. It's a pretty big movement in South Africa. So it has to be resolved. It'll be the end of the country if it's not.
Hasan, your charitability is something I aspire to obtain myself. My brain shuts down when I hear racist people speak about anything involving a minority. I just want a Vietnamese man waving his gun. Yeah. What? People are not 100% responsible for the actions of their ancestors. Some retribution seems fair. Wait, what? Yeah, except these guys are quite literally continuing that same exact unjustifiable hierarchy. That's the problem here. The problem here is, you know, that is what these guys are seeking to continue.
Potential for the relationship moving forward.
I hope so. That's why I'm here.
November.
I mean, I'm not here for my health. I'm here to, no, I'd like to see. I have friends. I can tell you, Ernie Els and Retief Goosen, they feel so strongly they wanted to be here on behalf of South Africa, not on behalf of me.
Yes.
And, you know, they said, can we be here for this? Because they love the country. Ernie, do you guys want to say a couple of words? I hate to put you in this. This is tougher than sinking a 3-footer. They have, and they've sank many 3-footers.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thanks for the honor of being here. We've known each other a long time.
Yeah, they brought the golfer to appease Trump. Seemingly, it didn't work.
We're proud South Africans. I still have my South African passport. We travel with this passport, and I got my visa here. So, but we want to see things get better in our home country. That's the bottom line. It's been 35 years since the transition. President Ramaphosa was right in the middle of the transition time in 1990 and before that. So it's been 35 years of ANC government, and I know there's a lot of anger, through the transition. There was also a lot of stuff happening in the apartheid days. We grew up in the apartheid era, but I don't think two wrongs makes a right. President Mandela, when he came out of prison for all that time, didn't come out with hatred, and really unified our nation through sport. We won the Rugby World Cup in '95.
4 times.
We won the African Nations Cup, soccer. We won some majors as golfers and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is, this has been a long time coming. That's why we really wanted to meet you, meet the administration, and see our way forward, because we still want to see our country flourish. We've got some great things going on. Business is getting involved with government. Farmers are getting involved in local municipalities, trying to rebuild some of the infrastructure that's been decaying for a long time. So there's a lot of coexistence going on and help from a lot of areas. But I feel we need the US to push this thing through. We've got a great ally, if we can have the US. It's always been an ally of South Africa for a very long time, even in the days of the war, up in Angola. You guys helped us. So very important for us to have your support and get the change we need.
Where did you do that? You might have done that even better than he plays golf. It's almost impossible. Johan, please.
Sorry, Mr. President. If you had to wind all of those places properly, you will see I'm the biggest target of that rebel rouse. Number one for over 10 years, Mr. Malema. In fact, the first time I met him, he was in the youth league with that gentleman, and look how he's changed.
Right.
We have too many deaths, but it's across the board. It's not only white farmers, it's across the board. And we need technological help. We need Starlink at every little police station. We need drones. I actually got drones donated for the peace parks to stop elephant and rhino poaching. And his predecessor stopped the importation because he said the United States would spy on us. I mean, the US basics, the ridicule. So if you can help us. Remember, sir, you and I lived in New York in the 70s. We never thought New York could be what it became. 2 commissioners, a tough mayor. We need your help to stop this awful. But it's across the board.
I can't believe, dude, the more I hear white South Africans talk, the more I hear white South African Bond villains talk about the conditions in the backdrop of Donald Trump claiming that and these guys are supposed to be the ones who are like, it's not happening, Mr. President, but also it kind of is happening. The more I understand the EFF position, it took me like 35 seconds to hear from the richest man in South Africa for me to be like, okay, I get what Malema's talking about. Like, this is the guy who's supposed to be like, Mr. President, it's not happening. But he can't help himself. He has to turn around and be like, You know, it's across the board, Mr. President, but also look at what has happened to New York. It's like, dude, why are you trying to export? Like, I guess, like, this is why I say why South Africans, like, can be either very cool people or just as hog-like as the American are. This is the guy who is like an American hog. He's like, yeah, we gotta be tough on crime, Mr. President. It's not a, like, he has the positive position here because he's at least like denying that the charges of, but then still being like, yeah, but we gotta make sure we do away with this criminal element in the country. Like, you're not wrong. These blacks are getting out of control.
Ernie's right now building a house in George. I'm building 3 cottages for my grandchildren on a farm outside Graaff-Reinet. I often go to bed without locking the door. And we have a serious problem with illegal aliens who stream across the border. And if you really look at our statistics, a lot of these murders, firstly it's unemployment and illegal aliens. And then I met Vice President Bartz many years ago at Charlie Rose show. My wife loved the book. And she reminded me this morning that you emphasized the devastation that occurs when big companies leave towns and cities, and there's a culture of dependency that develops. And I remember you discussing it. Now that's our problem. If we don't get our economy to grow, the culture of dependency and the lawlessness will increase. I've again been against apartheid all my life, and I'm their #1 target. Please just Google my name and you'll see it, sir. Yeah. He marched on the farm.
But the crime is bad.
The crime is terrible, sir, but Mr. Steenhuisen won't admit to it, but he runs the Western Cape, where I live. And the biggest murder rate is in the Cape Flats. Gangs. We've got gang warfare. Like your M33, whatever these guys. We've got the equivalents there. But we need your help, sir. And we need Elon technology.
Well, one of the real areas of support is really in investments. We've got to grow our economy, because through growing the economy, we're then able to create more jobs. Because crime really thrives where there is inequality and unemployment. And that is one of the reasons that has brought us here, to improve our investment relations, our trade relations, so that we can preserve the number of jobs that your companies have created in South Africa. By virtue of what we export to you, we are able to create up to 500,000 jobs in the auto industry, in the agricultural industry, and a number of other industries, mining, where we export things to you. And we also know that as South African companies invest here, you are also able to create jobs. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So our main real reason for being here is to foster trade and investment, so that we are able to grow our economy with your support, and so that we are also able to address all these societal problems, because criminality thrives when people are unemployed, when they have no other hope to eke out a living. So that is what we need to resolve, and your support, your partnership with us is what is really going to give us a strong capability to move forward.
Excuse me, do you have anything to say?
I think Lil Bear is correct. Ramaphosa was so good at glazing Trump without conceding. I won't vote for the man, but he's incredible with diplomacy. He navigated this so well. I will give credit. I feel like if you are a black South African politician, you know your way around talking to white people. Like, I feel like it just comes with the territory. You are an expert at navigating conversations with like some of the most heinous people alive.
I don't want to leave you out. You know, the guy won 3 or 4 majors. 3 or 4?
No, only 2.
2. That's a lot. By the way, 2's a lot. A lot of tournaments you won too. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. President Ramaphosa. I grew up in an area in South Africa that is farmland. area, Polokwane. And there is some issues up there. Obviously, my dad was a property developer as well as a part-time farmer. And yeah, some of these buddy farmers the farm is still going. My brothers run it, but it's a constant battle with farms they're trying to burn the farms down to chase you away. So it is a concern to try and make a living as a farmer. And at the end of the day, without farmers, there's no food on the plate. So we need the farmers to produce the food.
Farming, right? He wouldn't even want to do what you're doing, right? They love farming. They don't want to leave. But it's a struggle.
Yeah, and food and fresh water is the most important thing in life. Without those two things, you can't survive.
How is the water there?
The water is great. Obviously, all the water comes out of the borehole, out of ground for us. But yeah, it is a battle to get the water out sometimes when all the equipment gets stolen all the time that you're trying to get the water out.
So does your family and your brother, do they feel safe on the farm?
They live behind electric fences, try and be at night safe. But it is constant whenever you leave that something could happen. And
there's nowhere to live.
Both of them has been attacked in their houses. My mom's been attacked in her house when she was 80. So it is difficult. But the guys live a great life despite everything going on.
Something.
President Trump, I brought along the president of...
I like that all the rich white guys that they brought along are basically giving Trump enough ammunition to believe that there is definitely a white, and they're too afraid to just openly recognize it. That's cool. Because like this right here is enough for him to be like, see, I was right. Like they're saying it's not but basically it kind of is. Thank you, Mr. President, for saving South Africa.
The largest trade union in our country, Ziggy Solosi, because she leads many, many workers, more than 1 million, 2 million workers. And maybe we should give her a chance to say something because she's come all the way to join us.
Thank you very much, Mr. President Trump, for having us, and President for extending the invitation to us as organized labor. And I must say that we are here to support the initiative that has been made by our government with business, of course, as organized labor. We've been coming to Washington on the AGOA trade relations in the previous regime. And I think at the center of it all, for me, it is exactly what Mr. Rupert has said, the importance of us growing the economy. We have always emphasized when we were here and kept on coming and negotiating on AGOA that the 600 US companies that are based in South Africa, as you said, President Ramaphosa, 500,000 jobs will be wiped out. We need more foreign direct investment in our country. We are not just talking about those that will lose employment, but we are talking about over 40% of people that are unemployed, that have no hope.
That was crazy. Quick on and off there. Anyway, we're still here.
As they have said that we need to deal with the issue of porous borders in our country so that everyone that comes in is documented. We also need to, and I would have thought that the minister would address the issue of land expropriation and how the policy works in South Africa. Recently, President, as you were preparing to come here on the news, in, I think it was in Natal, there was a handover of farms. And white farmers were saying, we are donating the land, but also there's a willing buyer, willing seller in South Africa. So there is no expropriation without compensation. But it is a willing buyer, willing seller. And that white farmer was even saying, President, that the government is even paying more in buying the land than what the land is worth of. And I think those are the realities, President, that we must say that we need to address, of course, but also the importance of agriculture linked to AGOA. People rely on it, and I think, as Retief have said, for survival and living. But lastly, for me,
I know this is like kind of rad libby and aesthetics focused, but I can't help but notice the way in which he listens to black people in that room versus the white people, like the disparity, the difference is too overt to not take note of. He literally, one, constantly cuts off all the black people that speak, and he just lets people spit if lets the white guys speak. And on top of that, he's just like so visibly not listening and so visibly upset when this lady is when the union leader is talking.
President, is also the issue of the crime statistics. There is no doubt about it that we are a violent nation, you know, for a number of reasons. And
she's not even saying anything all that different from the white guys either.
But also, if you go into the rural areas where black majority are, you would see women, elderly, being raped, being murdered, and these are black elderly women that would be found throat slits, raped multiple times, and all of that. And the problem in South Africa, it is not necessarily about race, but it is about crime. And we think that we are here to say, how do we, both nations, work together to reset, to really talk about investment, but also help us in how we can have the technology and everything that is needed, President, to really address the levels of crime that we have in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, that is a very strong word. I'm wondering if you can make up your mind as to whether you believe genocide is occurring in South Africa or you still have doubts, and if you have made up your mind, why invite President Ramaphosa here today?
Well, I haven't made up my mind. I hate to see it from the standpoint of South Africa, but also, you know, I'm trying to save lives. I'm working with Russia and Ukraine. I don't have to do that. It's not our war. It was started by other people. It was helped along by our past administration. It would have never happened if I were president, but I'm trying to save lives. And no matter where. Rwanda, I have nothing to do with Rwanda and the Congo, but I felt I had a very talented person in this administration, and I sent him there, and he did an unbelievable job, I think. I mean, we're going to find out, but he's done the hardest part of the job. It should happen. If I can save lives, I want to save the lives. If it's in Africa, that's great. If it's in Europe, if it's wherever it may be. And it's a very small investment to do, believe me, compared to what the consequences are. So I hope we can do something. Look, I have so many friends. These two men, I have great admiration for them because I know what they do for a living. Yeah. And that's a very hard living, going from city to city, from country to country, and hitting a ball 350 yards like they do. And
better than you and I.
Getting the ball in the hole. It's a very tough, with lots of people watching, right?
Yes,
that's a very tough living. You know, they're champions. I respect champions. And I respect very much, and I think the country is very lucky. They really wanted to be here.
That's true.
They could be elsewhere. They could be on a.
It really worked, bro. It actually worked.
To be here.
Like bringing the golfers is such a stupid juvenile thing, and it literally worked. Like he's laughing because he's like, I can't believe how stupid this guy is. All you need to do is give him a golf book and then put him in the presence of a couple golfers that he recognizes, and he's set. He's like, I don't know, maybe no. After all, this golfer said, and he's white, no is taking place. So I guess there's no now. My bad. Bye-bye. Coco Melon is Scorsese for this man. Yeah, no, it's just put a couple rich white dudes in front of him to be like, Mr. President, I don't know what the f you're talking about with this shit in the lightest terms. And he goes, all right, never mind. Wasn't real. Sorry. Yeah, if there were Palestinian golfers, maybe he would stop that he is participating in. That was the big issue here, I guess.
From Newsroom Africa in South Africa. How important is it for the United States to be at our G20 summit in November, given the relationship between our two countries? You just heard what has been said to you just now. Are you coming, and are you preparing to come?
So without the United States, the G20, just like the G7, used to be the G8, but brilliantly they threw Russia out. Would have been a lot better if Russia was in. You know, a lot of people would say, oh, that's not it. Because if Russia was in, you probably wouldn't have this war. And if you had a different president, you wouldn't have the war either. But we have a G7. It's important that the United States is at both of them. I think without the United States, it's I really believe it's not very important. It's not the same meaning.
As I said to President Trump, the U.S. really originated the G20. And it's important that the United States continues to play a key role in the G20. And we are privileged to be the president of the G20, but we are even overjoyed that we are going to hand over to the United States, who are the originators. And for that reason, I expect the United States to continue playing the leadership role in the G20 together with other countries. And I've said when I initially spoke to President Trump on the phone, I want him to come to South Africa for a state visit, and I also want him to come and participate in the G20. And I want to gladly hand over to President Trump to take the leadership of the G20 forward in November.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
What is it going to take to convince you?
They don't want to leave.
Everybody, please keep moving. Thank you.
You said it's very quality for Trump to listen